Hey everyone, thank you for joining us this evening for another one of our webinars. And for those of you that are new to us, we welcome you and so happy to have you here. For those of you that have joined us in the past, you might notice this format is slightly different. But what I will say about this is you're still going to walk away with tools, resources, and things like this. Nancy Shield is here, of course, and Sharon Jones is here. And we're going to talk a little bit more about ourselves just a little further into our presentation. So welcome. We're very excited. We're always excited to talk about mediumship. And with that being said, let's just go ahead and dive right in.
Sure. So as Amy said, this for those of you who have done webinars with us before, so what's different tonight? A couple things. As Amy said, what's not different is we're going to be giving you tips. We're going to be talking about mediumship, and we're going to be doing an extensive Q&A. But here's what is different. So we're going to be using a PowerPoint, which those of you who have been in class with us, you've seen us do that in class, but we're going to do that here tonight. And the other thing is that we are going to be talking about foundations for mediumship. And the reason is we would love to have you all in our class, every single one of you in our class. And so we're going to be talking a little bit later on about what the foundations class is. And the three of us are the ones that teach it. And we teach every session as we do level one. So hopefully tonight you'll also get a little bit of a flavor for each of us, how we work together, and the vibe that we create, even though you guys aren't on video. I'm sorry about that. So let's jump in a little bit here. Oops.
Here's the vibe we create. The vibe we create is that the mediums always jump ahead of the format, and poor Nancy has to deal with us. So that's the kind of vibe that you guys come into with us. So.
Yeah, we don't hold ourselves up to be perfect. And actually, what I will say, we in our classes, our number one priority is to make a safe environment so people can make mistakes and not have a inner critic meltdown about it. And so you'll see we're the same. All right, so tonight is about how to strengthen your communication with your loved ones in spirit. And so we have a couple things on our agenda for today. One is that we'd like to set the stage a little bit, and I'm going to be talking about that in just a moment. We want to show you that you're not alone with your experiences and your questions related to communicating with your loved ones on the other side. We've now had so many students come through our circles in our classes. We know how people arrive, and very often they think that they're all alone. So we're going to talk about that. And as I said, we want to help you get to know us as instructors and as the School Whole Medium Academy. Then we're going to go into the teaching, and that's going to be Amy and Sharon that are going to let it rip with their understanding, insights, and tips for you for communicating with your loved ones. Then we're going to give you a little bit of information about the Foundations for Mediumship class. It is our beginners class, and it starts 1 week from tonight, Thursday, September 12th. So we'll give you a little bit more idea of what do we go over, who's it for, what does it cost, all that good stuff. And then Q&A time, like we always do. For those of you who have been on our webinars before, we do try to take the questions that are going to be of most interest to the greatest number of people. So that's typically about how communication works, how can you improve it, what's the afterlife, what do we do in the class, and so on.
And I'm going to jump in, as always.
Jump in, Amy.
We always jump in over one another. As Sharon always says, and she's correct, is there's never a question that is a stupid question, a bad question, or a question of judgment. Because trust us, by now, all of us have heard any question that you guys have thrown our way. So we welcome those.
Yeah, and especially Foundations for Mediumship is for beginners, no experience. So you can't ask a question that's too basic. That's what the class is for. And so tonight as well, don't be afraid to ask your questions.
And also, if you've got a question I guarantee you at least one other person in the group has the very same question.
Yep. Great point. Great point. And I will say in classes, when somebody's been brave and asked their question, a lot of times it turns into a really rich and productive discussion and everybody ends up learning from it. So, all right, you guys get the idea. So let's set the stage a little bit. So since you have joined us here today, you probably know or have an idea of the benefits of strengthening your own communication with your loved ones who have transitioned to the other side, or we could say have passed on, who have crossed over, any of that kind of language. That's most likely why you're here. So as you, again, probably know, you can receive and recognize signs that your loved ones send to you. And those signs can be really delightful, and they help you know that your loved ones are okay. Second, maybe some of you have experienced, you can feel the presence of your loved one around you at times, and that can be comforting, even in the midst of deep grief. Third, you can receive specific messages, and those messages might be affection, telling you that they love you, might be support, they're wanting to encourage you, to uplift you. And they can be affirmation, simply saying, we see you, we're here, we're around you. Now, you've probably heard many mediums say, and Amy has said this, and Sharon has said this, and lots of mediums have said this, anyone can do this. This meaning communicate with your loved ones or deepen your communicate or strengthen your communication.
And I'm going to add to that.
Of course you are.
One of the things that my guides have said, and you may have heard a couple of other mediums say this as well, but it is your right to communicate with the spirit world. It is your right as a person.
That's extra powerful. We should have said that. Maybe you found one that your loved one's communications can be sporadic. So you find yourself waiting for those signs and somewhat left wondering, when are they going to come, or when is there going to be another one? And you might feel even more sad if that happens, and frustrated. And it's very common. You might wonder, what am I doing wrong? We get that all the time. What am I doing wrong? My other relatives are getting signs. I'm not getting signs. I used to get signs. I'm not getting signs anymore. Am I blocking them? All kinds of questions, but coming down to, what am I doing wrong? Spoiler alert, you're not doing anything wrong. But anyway, maybe you found you can't tell the difference between their communications and your imagination. And Amy and Sharon, would you say this is not the number one issue that people come to class with?
I would say so.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's super common. And as a result, you doubt yourself, you get frustrated, and you could also, start to develop skepticism or activate some skepticism that's within you. And probably that you need to learn the how-to of this, but you don't know where to start. And you're kind of afraid you might be crazy, or you're not crazy, but you're kind of afraid that if you talk about it, somebody else is going to think you're kind of crazy. There's just all kinds of stigma associated with it. And so as a result, you don't really have anyone to talk with about this, not in depth, and really get feedback. Amy, Sharon, you look like you want to add something there.
Go ahead, Sharon.
So, many of us often feel like we can't talk to people about this kind of thing. What we like to foster here at Home Medium Academy is a very supportive environment where you do feel comfortable talking about these kind of things. There is, like we said before, there is no question that is not a valid question. There is no story that is too crazy. We have not heard any stories that are crazy. In fact, the crazier that some people think a story is, the better off. because the spirit world is capable of amazing things.
I think that it's probably fair to say that people leave the first class not feeling crazy anymore, or at least feeling like they've landed in the right place. Perhaps you've tried weekend workshops. Often they're too short, they're too jam-packed. So you get the ideas, but you aren't really able to practice or go deep with it. There's lots of great free online summits. They can be overwhelming, and there's so many presentations, or we're not always sure how it all fits together. Maybe you've tried meditation, and so many people will say, but I don't really know what kind. I don't know how long I need to meditate. I don't know how often. And by the way, I don't like to meditate. I'm no good at it anyway. So there's all those kinds of concerns. And perhaps you've tried books and self-paced video courses. Lots of great stuff there. And you can still find two things. I've heard people say they're still longing for that human support and community. The other thing I hear people say is they don't know how to put it all together. So one book describes angels in a certain way, and another book describes it another way, and on a video somebody talks about something else, and they end up feeling like, I don't know where to go with this, and I don't know what to do next. So I don't know if those resonate with you. If they do, and you feel like putting something in chat as to whether this is setting the stage is resonating with you, that's great. Never force anybody to either. All right. Amy.
Okay, so here's what we've discovered. I think we've taught foundations now. Ooh, I don't know, 6, 7 times, I think.
At least.
So here's what we've discovered is learning to connect with the other side actually requires a lot of support and validation. We're going to help, we help people take their journey from doubt to trust. And the reason that's bolded is because trust and doubt, or doubt and trust, are the two biggest hurdles to overcome for all of us. All of us, even if we're natural born mediums, you still have that. So that is what we've discovered. And this is how this course is built off of. Okay, we've also noticed, and maybe you've experienced this yourself, that people learn much faster and gain more confidence when they feel safe. When you feel safe and supported and stumble or make mistakes, which we don't, you notice I'm using quotes because that's not how we view it. You know, we're here to help you support and be you along the process. When validated by skilled instructors, you guys, people are really amazed at how much they can learn to do. Or the biggest one is what they're already doing. And Sharon can speak to that, knowing that as well. Most people are doing a whole lot more. They just haven't been validated. So that is a big thing that we've discovered in this class. Everyone comes to spirit communication in their own way. There is no one way. We're all unique. When we teach in Whole Medium Academy, we have the goal of you being the best you can be with your form of intuition and the way it works for you, not the way it works for us. We're just here to help guide you along the journey. That is what we're about. So you may wonder, how did we come about this? So I'm going to tell you that there was no plan for a school, none whatsoever. Yours truly was very content doing readings for people, groups, volunteering time, things like this. One day I was walking across a bedroom and a guide, clear as can be, said, "There will be a school." I stopped dead in my tracks and said, "No," and kept going. And over the course of 2 years, it was just there, it was there, and it was there. And so guides can be very pushy. And as we know, guides are actually never wrong. And you have to be ready. So Nancy and I began talking about it. And that's actually how the school came about. This class came about based on my culinary background. I always like to say anything we've ever done before is never wasted. So you might want to think, what does, because I was a chef, what would culinary school, what would cooking chef have to do with anything with foundations? Well, once you know the foundations of stocks and sauces, you can kind of make any kind of dish. So we took that same approach to the foundations class. So here we are. That's how it came about. It is a very popular class and it's our baby. So now I'm going to just pass it off to Nancy.
Yeah, what I'll add is, Amy and I have been on this journey together, 17 years, actually, I think, pushing 18. And we really share a lot of values. And so when we decided, okay, we're going to do this school, things that were important to us were professionalism and ethics and being organized and being fair and safe and non-judgmental. These are values that we brought into it. And my background is in coaching. Well, I worked for 20, 30 years in corporate training, development, and communications. But I've also been a coach since 2005. And so where Amy always brought the leadership of mediumship technique and being in service, what I brought is the whole person view. So taking a holistic view that if you're becoming strong in your communications, also means being healthy in yourself and promoting your own well-being. And as one of us said, learning to manage that inner critic. So that's the piece that I brought to it. And we have Sharon, who also has a really unique role with us.
Yes, thank you, Nancy. So I joined, Amy and Nancy invited me to join Whole Medium Academy in 2022, I think it was. I can't even remember anymore. And I came on board as the beginner specialist. Now, this came about quite unexpectedly as well, as most things do with mediumship. My desire to learn mediumship came about unexpectedly. That was not in my plan. I mentored for many years with Mavis Patilla, for anyone who is familiar with her. And, we went over things about mediumship development and, our own personal development and teaching as well. And I discovered a love for working with people who are beginning their journey into mediumship. One of my very favorite things is watching someone make that connection for the very first time, watching that light go on. I feel the joy that they feel. And really, what's so surprising, and we touched on this a little before, is that you are already doing a lot of this. You just don't know it. And as I walk people through their first readings, they are absolutely blown away at the amount of information that they present and deliver to their recipients, which is correct. And it's just a wonderful thing, an absolutely wonderful thing to witness.
We are 100% convinced that Sharon has some kind of secret sauce or fairy dust or something. We don't know what she does. They go in beginners and they come out, boom, mediums. Like,
even if they're not looking to work professionally, even people not looking to work
just regular people, just
awesome. Like, what do you do with these people? Because they go in and they're next thing you know, they're come out and they're like making connections all over the place. So
and what's really interesting is so many people that have started only wanting to connect with their own loved ones end up loving it so much that they continue their development and begin reading for others.
And even going professional. We've got several people who started with us from the very beginning, foundations level 1. We're in Amy's intensive level 2 recently and just graduated. So let's get to some teaching, you guys.
Yep.
how to strengthen your communication with your loved ones. And I think you all know what each of you are doing. So I'm just going to run the PowerPoint quietly.
Thank you. Okay. First and foremost, understand what's possible. At first, most of us, if not all of us, even those of us born as mediums, we mostly experience unintentional connections. That's your signs coming in, that's the feelings, that's thoughts, all kinds of things. What we aim to assist you with right off the bat is learning to make intentional connections with your loved ones or other people's loved ones, as it may be. So going from random signs or experiences to how can I learn to sit with you? So that is what we aim to do. We help you lay your groundwork. So at different times throughout your day, ideally, you're practicing minimizing distractions no matter what you're doing. When we are distracted, a lot of people have a ton of experiences in the shower, oddly, at night, right? When they're doing something that's ideal for them, so gardening, anything, knitting, sewing, whatever it is that may be for you. And all of a sudden, you're getting more and more signs and connections during those moments. Why? Because the distractions of the day have gone away and you're connected to you, and or you have zero distractions when you're sleeping, ideally, and then boom, tons of information just to wake you up. So that's what we help you to do, is to kind of work towards setting it intentionally. It is very, very important that you have healthy boundaries within this process. This is not about fear, you all. When you put your boundaries and learn how to work with your boundaries, it actually strengthens your communication with the spirit world. So the kind of boundaries we're talking about are for people who are highly sensitive or higher on the empathy scale, and you're feeling everything. Once you learn to put those boundaries in place, boom, all of a sudden you're not giving energy away. I call that energy going nowhere, because sometimes it's just unnecessary information and energy. And we'd much rather you take that and be able to use it intentionally to connect with your loved ones.
And I actually want to insert a story, Amy, that you know well. When you and I were first together, and because I was a coach, I was kind of observant about human behavior. And at one point I said to Amy, do you realize that when you're around other people, you kind of change, you kind of take on the emotional tone of the group or whoever you're with? And she said, no, I didn't realize that. And so I suggested a version of boundaries, kind of, imagining yourself in a snow globe bubble, or just, maintaining a little bit of separation. And it was very shortly after that Amy's mediumship skills blew open in a way that she could recognize what was happening. She always had them, but it just went bam once she stopped absorbing everybody else's emotional and psychological stuff.
Yep, it's Nancy's fault. So
It's my fault.
Yeah, it's Nancy's fault that it all exploded in the way that it did. I'm forever grateful, though. Okay. Laying the groundwork with this, it's important to also start increasing your awareness of signs. Let's not minimize what signs are from your loved ones. And, we want you to start trusting everything that comes to you. Now, that doesn't mean that every single thing is a sign, but if you start feeling and saying, you know what, this just came in or that just dropped in, that just feels like a sign to me, go ahead and trust it. And when you do, that's okay if you're a little bit wrong, because we're always going to get things a little bit wrong, every single one of us, but building the sense of trust that your loved ones are around you, they are sending signs, and taking that in, because they want you to know that they're around you to this day, regardless of how long they've been in the spirit world. Okay. Now, here's the trick. Where we often have a little miscommunication is in communication styles. So once you recognize what is your natural way of communicating, are you somebody who likes to explain a lot? Do you have a lot of visualization? Some people just like to, be very tangible, sharing your feelings. Sometimes you just know things, right? So once you know what your style of communication is, then it is time to start thinking about how your loved ones in the spirit world, what were their natural ways to communicate. So for example, if your loved one is in the spirit world, is very creative and used to using a lot of imagery, but you're one to just know things, your loved one in the spirit world may be giving you an image and you might be thinking, I don't get anything. Well, in there lies the miscommunication style. And so we help you to work and overcome that. But this is very important to think about, because the way they communicate in the spirit world does not change from the way that they communicated here.
And people wonder why mediums don't get 100% accuracy. We don't get 100% accuracy here in the everyday physical world.
No.
So, yeah.
The idea behind foundations is to help you strengthen your communication style, but also kind of learn to flex and recognize that, okay, so if my loved one in the spirit world, if they're not chatty, but you are chatty, maybe their signs to you are going to be a little more subtle, right? So it's learning this is what mediumship is. It's meeting in the middle. We're meeting in the middle. We're meeting where we communicate and the way they communicate. That's what mediumship is. And that's the beauty of it. And once you can learn how to do that, it's limitless.
Okay, so practice with a boost. You will find that making connections with your loved ones is easier in a group. The reason for that is that when we gather, our energy gathers together. And anytime you are with a group, that energy is elevated. So the information comes to you more easily. It's stronger. And this can happen in classes, in circles, with your teachers or instructors. Your guides will also help you boost your energy. And really, your fellow students, everybody is there supporting everybody else. Bonds are being made. We all want each other to succeed, and that also raises the energy for easier communication. So, don't be afraid to ask your loved ones for signs. They love when you talk to them. Every time you think of them or you talk to them, they can feel that. So take a quiet moment every now and again. Close your eyes and think of your loved ones. In your mind, out loud, it matters not. Invite them to give you a sign that you will recognize. So don't test your loved ones. Don't ask for specific signs. I do know that, that has worked for people, but you don't want to set yourself up to expect something that maybe your loved one isn't capable of because your communication styles are different. They don't need to prove to you that they are around. They are around. And if you just trust in that, the signs will come to you more easily.
It just came to me, Sharon, the energy of trust is flowing.
Mhm.
The energy of prove it, it's like this, prove it to me. And that's not flowing. So it makes sense that an attitude and a feeling of trust is going to support more signs versus not.
Absolutely, Nancy. Thank you.
Yeah, well said.
Also, anytime you receive a sign from your loved ones in the spirit world, say thank you. They work really, really hard to get those signs to you. And when we dismiss them as imagination, imagine the disappointment. Just imagine the disappointment you would feel if you were reaching out to somebody and they were just missing what you were sending them as just their imagination. So anytime you receive a sign, just say thank you. And so it's a really, really good idea to schedule some time. Typically the same time every day or every other day, whatever works into your schedule, is really, really good to do, because your loved ones in the spirit world, even though there is no time there, they do get used to a schedule with you. Let them know that you love them and that you would love for them to join you and be available for them. That being said, if you have a very erratic schedule, don't be afraid to say, hey, look, in about 20 minutes, I'm going to have time to sit. I welcome you to join me. That will give them plenty of time to arrange to be with you.
And we put a picture with a bench intentionally, because very often in these early visits, intentional visits, for whatever reason, very often the person who's wanting to communicate finds themselves sitting on a bench like this guy, and a loved one will join on the bench. So not sure why, maybe just because everybody relates to it, but that's why we put the bench there.
I'll add in there that that's how, I mean, I did that from childhood with somebody specific. I just thought it was my imagination because I was a kid, but there was somebody in the spirit world, and I would say, can we meet at the park? And it didn't always happen when I wanted it to happen, but it would happen. And just, it just takes practice. So not to cut into Sharon, but it just takes, practice. So it may not happen the first time, but for some reason, I just knew like it would. They want to please you all, just to be very clear. They want to please you.
And I'd like to add one other thing. So let's say you schedule this time and you sit and you feel like your loved one has not shown up. When you come out of that quiet time, pay close attention, because quite often things will drop in right after you are done once you start going about the rest of your day. I personally have had that experience many, many times.
That's a cool tip, Sharon. I didn't know that one.
Good point, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And also, let the process unfold gently. Try not to have too many expectations. Make sure that you're comfortable, that there aren't distractions around you. Take some nice deep breaths and relax. In your mind, let your loved ones know that you are ready. They want to come spend time with you as much as you want to spend time with them. Try not to pull or force, just allow. Be very invitational. You don't want to pull at them. You don't want to be forceful. Just invite and be open to what happens. And just let them know that you will accept any communication from them in any ways that work best for them. And also notice all of the experiences that you have during this time. Anything you feel, any sensations you feel on your body, emotions that you feel, any smells that you become aware of, sounds, thoughts, images, movement out of the corner of your eye, music. Quite often music comes in for me, so any music that just comes into your head. And also just the feeling that the presence of your loved one is with you. You will be able to feel it.
All right, guys, we're going to get to Q&A in just a minute. And I do want to tell you, we'd love to see you. As I said, we'd love to see you in Foundations for Mediumship. So I'm going to give you just some details about it. As a reminder, the way we're taking questions tonight is through the Q&A box, which is a different area than the chat. We're not doing raised hands and coming onto video tonight. So please put any question that you have in the Q&A box, and then I'll be able to share them out to the instructors tonight. So we think Foundations for Mediumship is for you if you want to learn, build, and practice the skills for making stronger and more consistent connections with your loved ones, animal companions on the other side, and guides. And actually, these are the exact same fundamentals to learn if you are also interested in exploring or pursuing mediumship more formally. So in our beginning class, we get these two kinds of people. We get people that just want to see what they can do for themselves. And we have people who are looking at, they're wanting the fundamentals because they're already thinking that they might take it a little bit deeper. And we have no trouble having both groups, and it works out really well, actually. So what makes us different? You're probably getting the feel for us. Small class sizes. So we have a maximum of 25, and that is because we want to get to know you, and we want you to have time to be able to ask questions and to share your experiences. You're never a number with us. As we've said, very safe, non-judgmental environment, and students always comment on what a big difference that makes. We're holistic, as I've spoken about. Haven't said yet, but we are great with analytical thinkers. And that's because I count myself as one, Sharon counts herself as one. And what we've noticed is analytical thinkers often don't realize that they're using claircognizance, which is knowing. They just think that they're good at analyzing things or understanding things. But what's really happening is it's coming lightning fast, and they really don't know how they got the information. So like Sharon was saying, sometimes people don't even know what they're already doing. That's a really common one. And as I mentioned, hopefully you're experiencing tonight professional, organized, and structured, even when we, trip over ourselves a little bit. Here are the topics, and the class is 9 weeks. We've changed it a little bit. It used to be 12. We've shifted it around. So it's mostly the same. We just don't go into guides as much as we did in some of the prior classes. But as you can see, we start right off really understanding intentional versus unintentional connections. We spend a whole class on boundaries and empathy. So we're getting you started off on the right foot. And then we spend a class on clairsentience, which is feeling, another one on clairvoyance, claircognizance, and clairaudience. Then we have a class dedicated to optimizing your energy. And that's something that I teach along with psychologist and trauma specialist, Dr. Lynn Cardula. So we give you some tools to really to soothing your nervous system so that you're in the best place that you can be when you do want to connect. And then what we are going to be wrapping it up with introduction to connecting with guides, because as somebody said, maybe it was even me, the foundation, the fundamentals that you learn for making mediumship connections, actually those same fundamentals apply to connecting with guides as well. So here's some of the experiences that we feel confident that you'll have. And we're able to say this because this has happened every single time now for at least our last 5 classes, I would say. So we do incorporate demonstration readings. Amy does these, and they are real readings, but she's also calling out the which clair, right, which intuitive sense she's using. So it's kind of a little bit of a slow motion breakdown that people really like. It helps them understand. We usually have 1 or more meditations led by Amy's guides. We do lots of in-class practice as a whole. So you're not reading with other people, but Sharon was talking about practicing with a boost. So we make sure that we take time in class to all together at the same time work on those intentional connections. And that way everybody can sort of ride all the energy. There's always at least one channeled message from Amy's guide, especially for the class. You'll experience organized instruction, lively class discussions, always wow experiences, Q&A, like we'll be doing tonight. We'll have a private online discussion group only for your class, and it's not on Facebook. We use a different system, but it'll be only your group. And then finally, all the recordings and materials are available to you for 1 year. And many people like to go back a second time through.
I just want to touch on that discussion group.
Sure.
Because the idea behind it just being for your class, it's the same thing with all the materials will be just for your class, is so you don't have to worry about being blended with other foundations classes or other people. This is specifically for you all, and this is part of, we do this intentionally so people can feel safe to share anything in the discussion group.
That's right. We think our students said it pretty well. Marissa said, the skills I learned were so simple to understand and apply. It just proved that anyone can do this if they truly desire to develop mediumship abilities. AM said, this class opened my eyes, and I've got my PowerPoint covered up here, and validated what I have known is real. Your work made sense of the signs, voices, and sounds I've experienced through the years, and thank you for that. And then Rachel Bonesteel said, she's somebody actually who works, when she took foundation, she was already working as a professional psychic, an occasional medium. So she told us that she's taken many other classes, but this was the only class where she really felt comfortable, not only with us, but with the fellow students as well. And what each of those three have said, we hear those over and over again. So here are the details. Amy and Sharon and I teach all, well, except for when Dr. Cardula comes in, but for the most part, the three of us are in every single class, maximum 25 people. So if you're interested, I encourage you to act on that quickly. It's going to be 9 weeks starting September 12th, and these are Thursdays through October 24th. This time we're actually running from 7 to 8:45 because we found that people had so much to share. There was so much good dialogue. We were always running over, so we decided to formalize it to 8:45. The class is $595, and we do have a payment plan available. So if that's of interest to you, you can contact me directly. I'm happy to share more about that. So here is how to sign up. We're going to go into Q&A in just a moment, but you can go to wholemediumacademy.com, click on the all training menu link. You'll find foundations there. You'll also find level 1 and group coaching and other things. But in any case, that's where it all is. Feel free to email me. Also feel free to call me. We really get that sometimes it's hard to figure out what level are you, which is going to be the right class for you. And we'd rather have a conversation with you and help you sort it out than have you, sign up in the wrong place. And then we have had people move. We've had people start in beginner and we realized, 1 or 2 classes into it, no, you guys are level 1. So that does happen. Amy and Sharon, you want to add anything before we go to?
Now let's go to Q&A.
Q&A. Okay. All right. Let me see.
Q&A is our favorite.
Okay. All right, I'm going to answer this one quickly. How many times a year is foundations run? 2 or 3? Probably going to be 3 in the coming year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially because it's 9 weeks now instead of 12 weeks. All right, Angela would like to know, how do we get to know our guides? Can our loved ones also be guides? Amy or Sharon, when you guys can pick that up.
I'll take that one because I do a lot with guides. Not that Sharon does not. But what I will say is, in general, your loved ones are not your guides. And here's why, is because they're communicating from their point of view, right? And they're still going to have their own opinions. So if your loved one gives you any kind of advice, we like to say, maybe you want to take it, maybe you don't. All right, you've got to feel comfortable with it. So the example I always like to use is if your loved one was not good with finances, but they want to give you financial advice, you may want to rethink that. communicating with the spirit world is the same. So all of the skill set, all of the clairs, anything that you use to connect with your loved ones, you use to connect with guides. The difference with guides is guides are objective, and over time you get to notice the difference, not only in how their presence feels, but their communication style. And if any of you join foundations and you listen to how my guides will communicate through some of the channels and meditations, whatever, the language is very different. It's a little more formal, is what I'll say. So that's how you get to know. But I can really give you one little tip here: is start asking your guide's name over and over, because they want to work with you as much as you want to work with them. So if you keep getting a name and you go, that can't be, which is what I did. Why can't it be? So, and practice that intentional sitting with them just as you would your loved ones.
So we have a couple of logistical questions, and from Anonymous, who would love to sign up, but the one night they can't make it is September 12th. And then Nicole is saying that she'll need to miss one or two classes should she wait. That, for both of you, that's absolutely fine. We do record every single class. It's usually posted by the next morning. And we know that life happens. And so we don't, of course, we love people to be there as much as they can, but we also understand that things happen. People have commitments. So yes, no, there's no reason for you to wait for another session, whether you have to miss the first night or one or two, not a problem at all.
Not only that, but all the PDFs, the PowerPoint is in there. You get the recording, you get the PowerPoints, and you get the PDFs, because we give a ton of exercises and practices. So all of that is in there for you as well.
Yeah, that's right. We give you the slides because many people like to take a lot of notes.
Yeah.
So we don't want you to have to write every single thing down. So we give you the slides, unless, except for some of the exercises. Sometimes we don't want to, spoil it. So we try to make your note taking easier. And as Amy said, there's PDFs for every single exercise or practice that we talk about. Sharon, I see you trying to jump in.
Yes. And also, let's say you should have to miss a class and you go over the recording and you go over the materials and you have a question. The discussion group that we provide for you is a wonderful place for you to ask any questions that you might have, if there's any confusion or there's something you're just not understanding. Yeah, and we're really good about answering those really on a very timely basis.
Right. We try to answer as fast as possible.
Here's another one about class, and I'm so very glad this person, Anonymous, asked this, because Anonymous, you are not alone in this. The question is, what if you are very private and suffer severe anxiety around others? Can you still get something out of this class?
Well, we can both speak to this. I think we can all speak to this. We have had several students, at least one or two, almost in just about every class, that have been very quiet. Some at times didn't want to be on camera. It's never forced. We recommend it, but it's never, we don't ever want to force somebody outside of their comfort zone so much that it creates anxiety. So do you still get something? It's actually very surprising, because we had somebody, I'm just thinking about the last foundations, that started off like very, very quiet. And then at the end, it was like all of a sudden, boom, 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 because, they had felt comfort. So, but I would like Sharon to add into this too, because
what was the question again? Can you repeat that for me, Nancy?
What if you're very private? Sorry, I'm answering somebody else.
I remember now.
Yeah, what if you're very private and suffer severe anxiety?
So I'm just going to share with you that I myself do suffer from anxiety. And we make things very safe and very comfortable. And Nancy, fortunately, has many, many tools to help you move past any anxiety you might be feeling. As far as being very private, You don't ever have to share anything that you are not comfortable sharing.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm thinking of somebody too, hopefully you didn't say this while I was answering another question, but somebody who was so quiet, and we always said this person was a dark horse, and it just blossomed,
Yeah, that was
That's
that
what
was
you're
the
talking about.
story I was telling when you were
Okay.
answering.
Yeah, so actually I'm gonna, let me make, so everybody can get the question. Will it be possible to practice? We don't practice in pairs in foundations. However, if you feel you're ready for that, we are always running the mediumship mentoring circles concurrently. Sharon's are every 2 weeks, Saturdays. Amy's are a little bit more sporadic. She's been trying different times and days. And those are pay as you go. So we have certainly had people who are in foundations, but then they're also coming to the circles here or there. And then level 1, we do lots of practice.
And the circles are only 10 people max.
Yes. So
Okay.
we keep the same intimate, high touch setting. Yeah.
And you get the recording to review for 2 weeks. So you have access to review what what happened in there, because these are mentoring. We are mentoring you along the way.
Yep. Okay, here's a mediumship question. So follow along. This is anonymous. What if your loved one on the other side really did not love you for some reason until very late in the relationship, or maybe never loved you in the way you loved them? Would that person still come to communicate?
Well, you see the
Absolutely.
medium smiling. Yes, they will.
Absolutely.
Oh, Sharon.
People, when we pass to the spirit world, we become much more objective. Not every problem, not that we had in life goes away, but we do become more objective. And at that time, we kind of let go of all that human stuff that might have come between us and our loved ones when when we were in the physical world. And in fact, some of the most wonderful connections are from people who come to, express remorse or regret for those actual, actions that took place while they were here in the physical world. So, anyone who was in your life, there is a bond created, and anyone can come, and they usually do, to communicate with you.
And like Sharon said, they usually will express some kind of remorse, and oftentimes in both of our experiences, they explain why they were the way they were, which is so healing, because you get this understanding that maybe you didn't know internally was going on with them, why their behaviors externally were the way they were. So hope that helps.
Somebody just pointed out that our math is bad. The course, thank you, Anonymous. The course is 9 weeks long. It is once per week. It does start on September 12th, and it goes for 9 weeks. And that does go past October 24th. I always have the most trouble with times.
Thank you, Anonymous, because there's always.
Thank you, Anonymous. Yes.
It goes to show how perfect we are.
Oh my goodness. And none of us.
We'll get that fixed. We love you, Anonymous.
Okay.
We are skipping Halloween. Yes.
Okay, maybe that's, yeah. We always skip days that it's not likely that people are going to be.
We love you all already. Like, this is how it is. Here it is. This is you're the full experience right here.
Also, Susan asked, when is the next one likely to be? Likely January, possibly early February. We will be starting one in the middle of the holidays. All right, Dr. Neil Smith, in a most general sense, how do you discern what's imagination and what's a real psychic event?
Ooh, okay. Nancy, why don't you do this one? Because you teach this one.
Okay, sure. Well, so one answer is it takes some time and trial and error. I sometimes say, how do we know the difference between sugar and salt? You just have to keep tasting them until you get that sense of consistency, because they can look the same. But when in class, we do an exercise where we have people pay attention to what their thought processes are like. And when we do problem solving, that's very effortful. When we are consciously imagining, there's still effort to it. There's still, even though it might flow, but we're still using some mental effort to stay in the space of imagination. What's going to happen next? Where am I? What's happening? What's going on? With psychic, it's much, much lighter and effortless. As soon as you're pondering or belaboring, or you grab onto something and then you start stretching it out, then you're going into imagination. So psychic is much lighter, much quicker, very rapid. And psychic events often are going to be, certainly in the beginning, could be like we call bits and pieces, a quick flash of an image, a quick sound of a jingling, dog collar. Whereas when we go off into imagination, you all can try this right now if you want. We're building a story, right? We're staying in this space and we're stretching things out. So there's not necessarily an objective way, although the other thing we can do is, for those of us that get psychic hits about things that may happen, we can write them down and then check our accuracy rate. And that's another way that we can kind of start to feel out, when am I just parsing it out and when is it actually dropped in? You guys want to add to that?
Well, also, mediumistically, it's going to be the same, from the spirit world. You can't think it that fast. It's just impossible. You just cannot think it that fast. Also, it seems to often be at times like you might be working on something and then boom, something just drops in or comes in, or you get a flash. You might, a lot of times, at least I've noticed, you're not thinking about that very thing, that information that comes. Maybe you've thought about it a day or two ago and then it comes. And I know Sharon wants to add to this, as would be great.
Yeah, even something as simple as a memory can be a sign. If you are not thinking about a memory and all of a sudden it's just in your mind, you just become aware of it, that is a communication from somebody in the spirit world.
I'm going to do a quick share of the website, since whoops, it's not the one I want. Since I managed to mangle the dates, it is correct on the website. So putting all the questions to bed. Here's the class date: September 2, weekly. We do skip November 31st.
October 31st.
October 31st. And this should be 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we end on November 14th. Yeah, we did it to end before the week of Thanksgiving. People start, getting into their holiday planning. All right. Let's see. Alicia wants to know, is there a minimum number of people? No, we've already got lots of people signed up. And so that class is going to be going forward. And no, you're not going to be okay. So one of the things we talk about is the inner critical voice. The inner critical voice is that judgy voice that says, you can't do this, you're not good enough, you're going to be terrible, you're going to bring down the whole class, all those kinds of things. We've never had that happen. So do not worry about that. And please, if you feel like joining and feel like it's the right thing, by all means, join. Let's see if we have time for one more. There's a couple more questions about guides.
Yeah, my guides want to say something, but I would love to hear a couple questions. So of course, my guides always want to say something.
Okay, well, so I'm going to give you these two together and then let your guide speak, and then we'll wrap up with that. The two questions are, were our guides known to us? Sorry, were our guides known to us prior to their passing? That doesn't make sense as written.
No.
So maybe we can, I thought the question being asked is, are our guides known to us? Do we have a life guide beginning to end?
Yes, we
And
do.
so, yeah, are we known to them? Are they known to us before we come and after we leave? So, and then the other is, can a guide be a spirit animal?
Yes, absolutely. I see Sharon's head going, yes, they absolutely can. They absolutely can. And one of the things that came up not long ago, I don't know if it was through a conscious channel or a trance, whatever it was, but that the picture that was given to me, so it was a clairvoyant picture, was meeting your guides. Like it's like the agreement in the spirit world. It's like there was a sense of attraction in how a specific guide is. Our guides are matched to us. It's very similar in personality. We at least have one, right? So the way you communicate is the way your guide is going to communicate with you. So there's no differentiation in that. The other aspect is other guides may come and go depending on your needs or where you are in your own spiritual journey, financial journey, whatever it is that you may need, health support, all kinds of things. So guides may come and go in that sense as well. I don't know if Sharon wants to add anything.
As far as your life guide, you did know them before you came into your physical body. The two of you agreed to work together during this lifetime. So you might not have known them in a previous life, but you absolutely knew them before you actually incarnated into this current lifetime.
And Amy, before your guides, a question just came in and I want to answer it because this goes to the heart of how we work. Anonymous says, after taking this course, are we able to communicate with the loved one, or does it become uncontrolled, meaning any spirit starts communicating? This is why we teach boundaries right away. No, we don't want we've sometimes, our students have referred to spirits as randos.
Randos.
We don't exactly condone it, but it's hilarious. But no, we don't. What we specifically do not want you walking around in an open state all the time for any spirit, related or unrelated, to come to you. And if you decide that, if you go into level 1, you decide to take this further, we're really going to help you or encourage you with ethics, where we don't even think it's ethical to, if you're out in a restaurant, you should be closed. You should not be having the grandmother of the woman on the date on the next table coming over and say, go tell my granddaughter how pretty she looks. That should not be happening. You want to have boundaries so that you have control at all times. And that's what will make you a healthy medium and a happy medium and a skilled medium. All right, off my soapbox, but thank you, Anonymous.
And that, when Nancy's using the word medium, that also can mean just for you with your loved
Yes.
ones. Right?
Yes.
Doesn't mean that you're going the professional route. It's whatever avenue feels right for you.
Right.
So as usual, it unplanned. I think that one of my guides, one of my trance guides, wants to blend, but we're not going into a full trance here. So it's just to give, well, I don't know exactly what the topic is, exactly how, but I'm sure it'll relate to you all, because they wouldn't do this. It will happen very quickly. And there might be a possibility of my accent changing just a little bit based on how Frida wants to blend. So So let me just ride along with it, okay? For each and every single one of you out there wondering and questioning about all aspects of the spirit world, let us remind you that it is limitless. When connecting with your loved ones in the spirit world, let us also remind you that they have avenues to reach and touch upon guides for the purpose of being in service of you. The spirit world is always, always within service of you. We also have unlimited resources within the spirit world and within the world of spirit. When reached upon and when one is asked for service from us, we are there to provide. As with many of you, even those sitting before you as instructors may not always be aware of our presence or the presence of their very own loved ones. Let it be known that that is not always the case. Your loved ones are always around in support of you. They may come and go, but they are there for support, as are your animal companions. As the question was asked prior as well, with the guides of being your animal companions, the answer to that is yes. You also may experience other animals as guides for you that were not animal companions, often known as, in this physical world, as the totem. Please do be in search of those. Be curious with us. Be exploratory with us. Reach out to us. Keep that childlike attitude, for we are here to always be in support and help you not only raise, but be healthy within yourself. Not only are we here to lift you up, we understand the challenges of the physical world. Let that not be forgotten, how we understand the challenges of the physical world and the very challenges you may be feeling that you are unable to control. This is what we are here for, is to be in support of you at all given times. We thank you for listening to this. Have a great evening.
We love
Frida?
guides.
Yeah, I was Frida.
Thank you, Frida and team.
And thank you everyone for joining us this evening. And yes, so we look forward to hopefully having some of you in class, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
Always, always.
Always.
Good night, everybody.
Take good care.